this time with SKT on blue.
How does that impact their bans? Cassiopeia, Lucian, Irelia were the bans on red side. Irelia was the final one. We're going to see Irelia as first ban in game number 2. Obviously a bit more bookkeeping required to ban away the OPs on red side for Afreeca Freecs this time. Very likely something's going to slide into the draft. Tahm Kench, for example, can Afreeca find a way to ban that on red?
Could be hard. We'll have to wait and see if they actually do go for that one. The Lucian is going to be banned out here. We saw that second ban by SKT as well. Nobody wants to see Lucian, at least in this one, after our first match of the day.
First pick, Ergot, feels like it's already locked in. We're doing a faker here and seeing the future and imagining it being locked in. Waiting to see what SKT will choose. Final ban here on blue side. Not really any target bans you have to think about too much, but they don't feel like they can pull off the Fiora hijinks now with Aatrox being played and with the red side being occupied by Afreeca. So that makes sense. They will ban away Aatrox themselves, so probably no Fiora is the fallen effect of that. We already talked about the Ergot prediction. You don't need to be faker and see the future to know it. Ergot first pick, the heavy expectation for SKT.
Just makes sense. You can put it in either top and mid. It's going to be super safe. It's just so nice and tanky, has kill potential. It's a great pick right now. Galio, the obvious answer nowadays. We're not exactly prophets here at this point, once it gets into this kind of a predictable draft, but the Tahm Kench comes out pretty early.
I like the Tahm Kench a lot here. I think it was almost 100% Ezreal Tahm Kench for SKT. You love to go for poke options against an all-in comp, and Galio's already a good sign that an all-in comp is on the way, so love contesting the Tahm Kench. Normally for Afreeca, you felt cheapened when you saw the Tahm Kench because Tucson on Tahm Kench duty was a great engaged player who would often suffer trying to play the Tahm Kench. Now it's Jelly, now it's a different look, so you can feel better about the pick, and SKT give the confirmation of, yes, we really wanted the Tahm Kench.
Would have been so good to have it in this spot, but instead they will pick up the Braum, as they are expecting some engage, I suppose. Pretty nice with the Ezreal as well. Can hop forward, get the stuns onto the Tahm Kench. We'll see what happens.
You feel a bit damned if you do, damned if you don't about Camille in this spot, because otherwise it's Ezreal, and you know how slippery he can be. But if you do lock it in, it's risky. It's a first-round jungle Karthus. All right. Now, of course, this could be bot lane Karthus. This could be aiming playing Karthus, and he was one of our awesome dudes, but everyone has seen Spirit spam Karthus, jungle Karthus. What happens here? Because Afreeca say, no Lee Sin for you. And SKT say, well, we're pretty sure it's jungle Karthus, but if it's not, how do we achieve both of our objectives?
You see they're thinking about it a lot as they eventually put their eggs in the Karthus jungle basket.
I can't believe they first rounded Karthus. This is Afreeca Freecs. Reminds me of when BBQ Olivers in the Casper Cup, you know, there were a lot of whispers about the Ivern comps coming out. And SKT said, all right, no Ivern, and they just banned it the second round. Afreeca are like, all right, we're going to first round Karthus and work it out later. I could see Keen playing Karthus. I could see Aiming playing Karthus. And we know that Spirit will play Karthus.
I was calling for it. I didn't actually expect it, especially this early. But I suppose even Afreeca felt like it was so obvious. Jay's going to be banned as well here. Kind of interesting. And Varus, Tahm Kench in the bottom lane would mean that certainly the Karthus should go into the jungle.
What season is it for Varus, Tahm Kench versus Ezreal Braum? Feels like nothing changed at all. But we're getting very, very standard duo lanes. I think SKT should just go for what works, which is strong jungler, strong lane, and then work out what Afreeca has and say, well, if we play the Archon swing condition, doesn't matter what rubbish the enemy is doing. That's what I prefer to do when you see something really out of the norm, like a Karthus first round, is let's make sure our comp's really good. So Xin Zhao and Xin, and you just have, say Xin Zhao and Victor, and you'd have a very standard comp that you can lane swap on. Ezreal Braum is very, very safe. I know it's boring on paper, but that's my first read on what to do in a scenario like this. SKT could also be bold, and the Fiora bold pick was very helpful in game number 1, but with the limited information they say, well, if you pick a strong jungler, Xin Zhao wins the skirmish most of the time, and if you pick a weak jungler, we're going to have a huge skirmish advantage.
Like the pick, Xin Zhao coming back here, no longer globally banned. Very, very strong early game jungler. And what will be picked here for Keen is the idea.
This would be a top lane Syndra or a just chase Victor wherever possible. Syndra pick, because Syndra beats Victor, was played in the LPL in the Demacia Cup Championship. Instead, we see the GP and Spirit, who couldn't stop telling me about how much he was loving jungle Karthus at Kesper Cup. They finally found his spot. Apparently his first round, he's playing the Karthus.
And GP, something we always used to see in the past, seems like a very rare pick nowadays. Decides against any kind of tank matchup that Victor just gets a bajillion gold from Kleptomancy nowadays on and say, hey, we're going to build up our own gold piles here with our own gangplank.
Keen gets his own 5th pick. It's not quite Fiora when it comes to what the lanes look like, but basically his 2 options were copy the idea of Syndra versus Victor top lane. Syndra beat Victor in mid. It's the same in top lane, but of course the lane dynamics make it less reliable, and also your Syndra, an overextending champion against the Xin Zhao, that sounds bad. The jungler's not going to save you, it's a Karthus. He goes for the GP instead, who can farm it out, and they can make map plays with the Galio ult and Gangplank ult on the bot lane. So bot lane pressure onto Ezreal Braum. It doesn't sound like a perfect strategy, but definitely one that might be coming out here, as you can throw in so many globals to try to make Teddy and Mata accountable.
Always love the Xin Zhao. This time it is going to be for the side of Klid. Gets himself on another aggressive jungler. Excited to see how that goes, especially up against Karthus. Another fun jungle matchup, not in the aggro versus aggro way. But we'll have to wait and see if the lineup with the Karthus Afreeca, can they scale up with the GP Karthus? Will be fun to watch as we enter game 2 here. SKT up against Afreeca onto the Rift. Here we go, back onto the Rift. This time SKT blue, Afreeca red. And the first thing I notice is more Hail of Blades for the Xin Zhao on the side of Klid this time.
It is now the go-to keystone on a lot of champions. Again, Viper's Vayne and solo queue has now been copied basically entirely Hail of Blades after that was publicized. The jungle picks are the ones where you just weave so much more early damage on. Even when you just have a red smite, you do bonkers damage. Every auto attack, when the enemy has, you know, no cloth armors or health, is going to be relevant. And the damage calculations are already always about 150 damage off, it feels like, when it's Hail of Blades, and that's often enough for a kill. So I'm a big fan of the extra pressure it gives a jungler like Xin Zhao, who already has an auto attack cancel, to continue to abuse the mechanic chains on Hail of Blades on patch 9.1. Other keystone choices that are interesting, it's Respectful Klepto against the more defensive choice here, and we're also seeing why, as, hello, we've got a lane swap.
I like the Observer immediately swaps him around, really on the ball there, as they say, instead of Klepto versus Klepto, or, well, I guess it's not Klepto here, as you were mentioning, Keen just going to go up against the Urgot in the mid lane instead.
2 games in a row. If you missed our first series, we had Summit on Darius go mid lane to find the Scion, and I like the fact that Korean teams are feeling the flexibility more so than ever of not to stay in your lane. It's very much find your lane, and if it's top, if it's mid, deal with the geography difference and make the most of it. So the farm lane going to be very reliable for Keen in the mid lane against Urgot, and very little kill pressure because the oranges often make him K.
This was supposed to be Faker versus Yukal and Keen versus Calm, but the players are like, nah, let's mix it up. Let's just swap the lanes here a bit. You already got to see those aforementioned matchups in Game 1. Let's take a look in Game 2. As Klid over a ward, and Spirit, very respectful, says you can have my red if you want it. I'm Karthus.
You know, he did lock in Karthus, so the respectful part is definitely secondary to the pretty brazen first-round Karthus. He understands that he just can't afford to die. If he dies in this jungle, it's a terrible time.
It's lights out.
You'll notice Dark Harvest is the pickup, which is pretty much a Karthus-only rune is bot lane.
Oh boy, Jelly once again feeling the pain. Not quite able to weave in another Mystic shot. There was Teddy, but he was on the ropes. Very cool, calm, collected, though. Keeps all the summoners.
Spirit's level 3. The power farm is so real. Mid lane, Klid was actually considering flashing over the wall. That would have been aggressive.
He got level 3. from the
his experience. He
yeah,
soaked up. That's actually really relevant here.
Yeah, he waited there and he just picked it up and he's like, okay, now I can fight.
Clid's pretty good at understanding his scenario, and he understood that just sapping one minion would be enough. Patience here is so low on this red buff, but it should be claimed by Spirit.
Yeah,
he's level 4.
You got to have your top laner come on down just to protect you so you can pick up your buff. It's little sacrifices like that that could potentially make this jungle Karthus work. You see it sometimes in solo queue, and a guy just picks up Xin Zhao, and you know your Karthus is going to die a bajillion times, but
Valdes,
not this time.
You know that Karthus clears the jungle fast, right? Everyone just says the bullet point play. Any analyst can say, wow, his clear speed's really fast. We know all about it, especially on single target camps, right, with your Q. Speaking of single target camps,
ganks?
How about his ganks? Well, unorthodox, Valdes.
I mean, he has red. He gets the Dark Harvest proc at least on his way to steal Raptors away from Clid rather, it looks like.
I'll take your Raptors, kid, he says, as he steals away Clid's Raptors. He gets them down. The clear speed, again, the reason why I mentioned the boilerplate point is you have to see it and remember it to really believe it. You just motor down those camps instantly. If you remember when we saw the Jungle Karthus played by BBQ Olivers, by Malice in the Kesper Cup, he was 2 levels ahead, feeling like he had XP quints or something going on, and Spirit will have a very fast level 6, and one thing I want to draw your attention to, Valdes, it's triple teleport, which is becoming the norm, AD carry, mid laner, and top laner. That's no heals against what is going to be a very early level 6, and also the Cannon Barrage thrown in, the Galio ult sweeping in. The chances of getting kills bot side, because there's no summoner heal, do go up, and Teddy's going to have to be pretty proactive about when he chooses to back. You can't just use all your mana. You have to be topped up in health as well.
Yeah. It's a weird feel, but they have so much reach on kills. It's pretty insane.
It's just dirty. Dark Harvest, that dirty extra damage, right? Then there's Karthus ultimate. Then there's GP ultimate. The lethal range feels like it's bigger than ever before, and while one Dark Harvest stack is nothing to write home about, every time it adds up. The S word is one we avoid saying on this stream, the scaling word, and Karthus scaling needs no introduction.
Yeah, I mean, imagine how much more range they would have if they had Galio in the mid lane just to hop on in onto bottom lane ganks or just helping out in general. I feel like it's kind of curious. They send the Galio up into the top side. Not sure what you think about that, Papa.
Something freak, you've got no mana. That's what I'm thinking right now. Watching Spirit, the dregs of the camps, able to power through it. Level 6 obtained at 6 minutes 10. That's pretty good timing. In the mid lane, Faker looking for a disdain there, but no flip onto Keen. Only really meaningful way he can interact with the lane.
Clid's on a ward, by the way, and just picked up more XP, it looked like. He's taking a lot of that as we go.
Keen, so far, quite rotund in this lane, not under too much pressure. Clid gets the information, the bad news about the ward, and we'll just power through. I'd like to think he was sapping more experience from his mid laner.
Well, he was doing both. We do have Infernal Drake here. TP comes into the bottom side. 4 members of SKT looking for it. Top laners do not have TP at this moment in time, so we'll be at most a 4v4 if any fights do break out.
Usually you think, okay, it's Karthus jungle, invade is blue. That's a very simple point. Actually, as SKT, almost as big an objective as taking the enemy blue or contesting it is get a global. Just get one of those ults used, and then you don't have to worry about them being min-maxed to get a single kill. They weren't able to get either. The blue buff is claimed by Spirit. Keen has no need to pick it up on Newcastle's top lane, so this lane status does continue the power farming for Spirit.
Certainly having a fun time so far, and Afreeca are just fine to sit back, try not to die, scale on up with the Karthus and the GP and even the Varus.
And you just know
scaling as well.
That Afreeca, scrimming with Spirit, I've probably put 30 games into Jungle Karthus because they have such an amount of scrims played. They play internal scrims, they take scrims with others, they just don't play solo queue because they see more merit in playing more competitive or competitive-like games. Jungle Karthus is really tricky to pull off. Again, load up, play it in solo queue. If you don't get invaded, best day of your life. You could probably get some LP. If you get invaded, if you die twice, game may be over. You're never able to get some fortunate assistance from your teammates. So because of that, enjoying the fact that so far Afreeca have been able to make Jungle Karthus look like a masterstroke in game number 2.
You were talking about clearing single target camps. Both of these teams would love an Infernal Drake at this point in time. And, aiming's going to be hit on the backside. Remember, he used his TP before when the invade was coming in. And so now he's in a really awkward spot as he got a little bit too close to the sun down there.
And the moment the Ezreal ult hits, it means no chance to contest the Infernal, and should be a freebie. Slowly soloed down by Clid. Again, an acceptable loss. You took Jungle Karthus, you made a bold choice. You didn't think you could also get Infernal Drakes, so you definitely didn't want to see that spawn if you were Afreeca Freecs. Infernal slowly going down to Clid, and Spirit just goes back to his top side and says, well, I'll take two camps and reevaluate.
Maybe even get on into your enemy jungle as pings are going on the blue side. Are actually going to have a trade here in the mid lane. Keen forced to blow that global you were talking about. Lands that one, but the timer's not long enough. And Clid, unfortunately, there's the Karthus ultimate. They thought that last tower shot was going to land. And if it did, Clid was most likely dead on the backside, but kind of unlucky there, and now Mata forced to come in and save his teammates.
Yeah, the extra damage of the turret shot, the Dark Harvest proc, and also the Requiem probably would have killed him, but the mid-flight turret shot doesn't register because of the Xinjia ultimate. So yeah, the timing there. The only difference between that likely kill. Understood there, the Keen. Because the ult had timed out from Faker, there was no way actually to get it to arm after the flash from Clid. So a rare miscalculation on both sides. And all we can really talk about is a turret plating going to the side of Afreeca Freecs.
Well, at least we had some action in this game. SKT certainly looking for some action with that Xinjia. We'll take another look here at the fight.
Let's watch the replay here for the damage calculation. Now, the turret doesn't actually get repelled by the Xenos. Let's watch exactly what the full calculation is here. The next shot's coming in. If it had gone down before the Q, so that's what we should have been talking about, the Q there, then that would have been the difference between the kill coming in and not. Be pretty overpowered if Xin could block turret shots. But in the end, calculations are off on both sides, and that means a couple of summoners, importantly Clid's flash, are on cooldown.
Nice try, at least trying to get some kind of kill onto the Rift. So far, it's just been passivity from the side of Afreeca, and they're very happy with that, as we mentioned before. Just chilling here as Keen farming up very happily in the mid lane, doing slightly better than Faker so far.
Always fun to see Varus and Ezreal opening up, always waiting to see who will pull the trigger finger on something like the Chains of Corruption. Heal is worn on Mata, you'll notice, whereas the teleport, as we mentioned, is there on Teddy. Very important to try to get them through this laning phase. First Requiem, not successful in every long cooldown ability. We always inspect very closely when it comes to early effectiveness. Around the same time, Cannon Barrage available again. Let's see if they can actually set up this bot lane play we alluded to, try to get something out of those cooldowns.
Khan getting into it up in the top side. You see him blow his ultimate. Not sure if that was actually reaching for the kill, as Galio still has his flash, or just trying to help on the push.
Pretty sure it was Doinby-esque when it comes to pushing in a minion wave. Very hard to freeze against a Victor between E and R. He'll find a way to push your minions. But that does mean that Clid can transfer the good pressure he had bot side to a top side objective, but this is one that Spirit doesn't have to leave for free. He can just fish for some vision with his W, but Faker walking out makes it very difficult to contest this objective.
Well, it comes down. Spirit can get a little bit more aggressive. If he lands a couple Qs, we could see something happen. Fight in the bottom side at the same time. Aiming getting pretty low. Stun comes in, but Faker picks up the Karthus, who is going to ultimate on the backside to take out Clid at least. Looks like SKT do get the Rift Herald. Faker trying to slip on in there and pick up the buff, but it looks like Afreeca might be able to zone them out for now.
Now, this time is really long, and Faker has first access to the minion wave, so will Keen give up multiple minions to make this happen? The answer is yes.
Yeah, Faker's backing too.
It's about 25 seconds, I feel. I don't know the actual number on how long the eye stays, but it's much longer than you first think.
Yeah.
Is there a long time?
We'll still wait. TPs are coming in as Yukal wants to taunt them away from it. Oh, there's the taunt, but he picks it up. Khan Just barely, it feels like, towards the end. Right before it expires, picks up the Rift Herald for that top lane.
And that makes it all worth it in the end, Valdez, even though another Dark Harvest stack and actually 2 Dark Seal stacks go the way of the Karthus. We'll watch the bot side to begin this. It's a bit of aggression on both sides. I think everyone's map watching a little bit as this play happens. That's why both sides trade a lot of damage. See if there was any further blood on the bottom side. I don't believe anyone went down.
Yeah.
But cool little trades. They're very competitive between the duo lanes. As top side, we missed Faker actually getting the kill onto Spirit. One of the plays here. Oh, arms in case of doubt. He can't get any value out of the fear, but the answering kill does come onto Cliff.
Yeah, the Karthus, you know, he's good at farming. He'd love to scale up, but we're kind of in this wonky early to mid stage where it's not 5-on-5 yet, and suiciding isn't really the best option. He would love to live, but Xinjiao and Urgot going to immediately just pounce on you. And, well, here come the Qs. If he can land them, one. There's the Varus ultimate, and see you later, Spirit. Able to pick that one up, and now aiming just way too low. Gets burst on down. Jelly also in a really bad spot here. He's going to also bite the dust. A double kill for Teddy on the Ezreal on the back of that one.
Really smart map cut there from Faker. He knew they could control the bot side of the pit, and there's no exit route for Afreeca after they flash and use the ultimate of the Varus, the Chains of Corruption flash. Meant there was no way out, and now they want more here, SKT.
Faker just scuttling his way on in. They're going to burst down that Karthus. Doesn't do much. Has the Requiem. Not even going to use it here. Faker, though, no, it's not enough time. The flash forward.
Oh,
got him! Kill the bloodthirsty support. Comes on in. Mana picks up the gangplank for an extra kill on the backside.
There's nothing more satisfying than fissuring someone to death. It's only about 150 damage, but it's all he needed. The snipe there is going to be the cherry on top. They back away to an Ocean Drake, and suddenly SKT, the plan's coming together.
Well, you feel like that pocket pick of the Karthus and the GP and all the scaling could potentially get Afreeca into this game. They pick up the kill here at first, but then it turns on its head.
It's all good until the flash hit, because then Faker says, hey, if I walk down, there's no way out for these guys. And he's right. There's the ability of Teddy to use terrain to just rain down damage, his R and his Q. Very consequential at the start. Then Jelly's out of position. We zoom forward to this moment. Spirit's try to contest. Well, you ain't got no flash, buddy. You're going to go down quickly. And in the late game, you look at Karthus and say, hey, SKT has a mid-range threat comp. Karthus' Defile is going to do wombo damage. We're not in the late game yet, Valdez. And if they continue to play around side, you can hear how good Mata feels after the Glacial Fissure kill. If they can continue to play this game at a high pace, and turret dives at 14 minutes are the definition of a high pace, it doesn't matter how good Karthus is against SKT's comp if he never gets the items to wield.
It's very true, and you can see SKT getting real pumped up there, Mata as well. Everybody shouting nicer as they pick that one up, and well, they should feel pretty nice about it. Khan here looking again for just some nice trades up against UCal, being annoying. But things feel really good. The Victor's online, had that really nice Galio matchup. Your Urgot and your Ezreal are doing stuff, and UCal just caught underneath the turret. Khan is also going to have his own little stopwatch from earlier on. Dodges that Karthus ultimate. Definitely the best way to get out of all that damage is some stasis, and well, that's a couple of stopwatches now. They're going to save people's lives.
And there's really no silver lining. In a different game, you say, all right, they won't have another stopwatch later, but Zhonya's will come up. And this game doesn't look like it's going to get to late. Jelly needs to get the Devour. He's not going to get it yet.
Oh, he's not on the wall. He was actually there, but then he moved away.
The pathing there of both of them, they couldn't min-max it there, and unfortunately, it's another kill. And SKT are in win more territory. Keep using your stasis, keep being proactive, and it doesn't matter where if we can get on paper, because right now the paper's being ripped up, and it's being rewritten by SKT.
And these guys playing so well, and now Faker looking for a solo kill. Gets a little bit of help from his friend in the jungle. But it just feels like the landslide has started, and it's not going to stop anytime soon, Papa.
Afreeca Freecs are one more than 1 foot in the grave. It feels like we're 1.5 feet. That's not a good sign, Valdez. Right now, 6 feet under territory. Almost confirmed for them. There's light at the end of the tunnel, but this tunnel is SK Telecom T1's territory. It's all about pathing here. Aiming can't actually, because he's body blocked, get there, and then it's the ult Valdez that knocks him further away. So between those two things, the body block into the Xin Zhao ultimate, no Devour over the wall, no life for the Varus.
And that's what I like to call the death corner in solo queue. People get caught there all the time when they're behind on red side. All the time. You're trying to go from bot to mid, mid to bot, and they have a ward in there, they're going to spot you and they're going to corner you. And, well, happens here in pro play as well. And Spirit now absolutely can't get on top of his blue buff, has to give that away as well.
Control is basically paramount for SKT. They have everything on the map, and now all the little pieces are really coming together for the side of SKT. Remember, we talked about how do you get away with this teleport so risky. That's also pieced together that it's heal Guardian Braum for the most kind of extra health you can provide someone outside of, say, a Soraka. The moment you've locked in the Braum, you're able to give so much to your Ezreal through the Guardian proc and the heal, giving you, what, 300, 350, maybe 400 as the game goes on. Extra health in the kind of early to mid-game phase. That's enough that the Karthus ultimate probably won't pick up the kill. We never saw them even be able to get any sort of wombo in the bot side to try to shut down Teddy. And, you know, we were coming up with names of premium Teddy brands for a reason. This guy has been solid gold so far between Kesper Cup and also the LCK. 600 bounty already being won by Clid and Teddy. To me, the two best performers so far for the SK Telecom T1 Dream Team lineup.
Yeah.
And Afreeca Freecs, there's still the scaling word being said. There's still a keep your wards down, keep farming. And that is true. But SKT in today's form, given the Vision Masterclass that won them game number 1, I can't see them giving another 20 minutes of farming to the side of Afreeca.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't feel that way. They're not going to, you know, be the team that wavers and hesitates around objectives. SKT look like they're firing on all levels right now and looking really, really fantastic. We'll see where they do move from here. Always Khan will just continue pushing in, and he's in a little bit of trouble here. Khan tries to flash out of that one, but is going to be burst down. Clid, unfortunately, roped into trying to help him out. Not quite able to do that. Now a fight in the top side. Faker, uh-oh, he's got a shield. It is going to block that entire Karthus ultimate, though.
Teddy?
And now Teddy, okay. We start giving them some praise, and all of a sudden SKT getting caught, but at least they're going to take down an inner turret.
Teddy playing with fire a little bit, but it's actually to distract the members under turret, while in the mid lane, a duo came
Teddy,
in.
oh boy! Spirit has to flash out of
Double
that
flash.
one.
They got the flash on Devour out of Jelly as well. He got the absolute maximum.
It's like, how dare you try to cue me, Karthus?
Kane.
Looking for the snipe, and Spirit's not going to get it. And Teddy, he's still alive. He's still kiting them. He's going to take out Kane. You mentioned solid gold. This guy, he's going to platinum. He finally goes down, but oh man, makes something out of absolutely nothing. Picks up another kill on the backside. Teddy, oh man.
Masterful baiting coming through on that one, and the Winions are the only ones who can take him down. Thanks, Mr. Ranged Minion. I needed the assistance, said Yukal, who got the kill credit. Now there's 3 members, and the Gargoyle, he's only so tanky.
What is happening in this game? It's people getting caught over and over. It's devolved into madness. It feels like as double TP comes in from SKT. They get a kill, and now maybe another one as Spirit. That's a victor on you. You're going to get stunned. Give the kill over to Faker. He'll be happy to steal that one up. As 2 more kills now to SKT. They're looking at Baron.
But in another game, you look at the interaction there and say, man, Karthus Grave in the middle of the enemy team, that could win a team fight. Not here in this game with how far ahead SKT are. They're on to Baron, but they're certainly being mindful of a turn. Faker doesn't have Smite, he can't switch over to it, but look how far Afreeca have to respect this, and we know the Smite is on cooldown. I think it's going to finish it.
Faker just looking for more kills as he's just going to zone him out. Doesn't have the most vision in there, he's really tanky. Gangplank doesn't do anything, but there's the Baron going over to the side of SKT. Very easy after picking up the 2 kills.
Man, this has been a really fun game. To the moment the Karthus came in the first round, we knew we were getting some sort of fiesta, but it's been a fun fiesta in this case, and it's been also SKT not erring towards the spirit of that word. Fiesta usually means, well, don't think about it too much, we're having fun. A popcorn movie, a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, if you will. I think overall SKT have been really intelligent, and even though we saw Teddy Arcane Shift Q and then take a Defile and almost die, Lei Waste almost died towards the inner turret. Bot lane, it was all in service of a push in the mid lane and then a really good extended kite where you got even more members. And on the backside of the individual moments, Drakes are going down, Barons are going down, everything's coming up. SK Telecom T1 feels like 2018 is a long time ago for some teams and very recent for others. When it comes for SKT, their fans don't want to remember 2018, and for good reason.
Things have turned around for them, no doubt. They've turned the page to the new chapter of SKT. They're not the laughing stock of LCK anymore. They are the dream team.
What does the last bit of that page say, that 2019 SKT?
I wish I could see the future, Papa. It's looking good, though. I took a little peek, as you can kind of see. Faker trying to get zoned actually by 3 members, nearly takes out Keen on the backside. He's somehow still alive 1v5. As Faker is going to get taken out there on the backside, but Spirit eats a bunch of damage. SKT just zoning with Baron, looking at 2 inhibitors in mid and bots.
And usually when you see 5 people against an enemy Baron rush at Faker and take him down, it's because Faker knows that around the map, SKT are getting everything. And his life, while it might make one person feel good, it might be a statistic that, oh yes, I took down Faker once in professional play. It's all in service of SKT, growing their lead, breaking up the base in 2 spots, and they want some kills.
Well, here it comes to Requiem early. He's not able to do anything as Yukao desperately wants a kill in this game. He's not going to get it as a second one goes to Teddy. That should be all but lights out. Game 1 looking to be even faster than Game 2.
SKT look on another level just like Griffin did yesterday. Mouth-watering is that matchup, but for this one, where Afreeca come is the last team to debut, they got things to work on. Maybe the Karthus on the shelf, and maybe the Karthus in the Death Chamber.
Well, they have a lot of damage. It is a very one-sided game at this point. And there it is, guys. SKT, the easy 2-0 over Afreeca tonight, looking on a whole new level up towards the top here in the LCK. Extremely clean play, macro, micro, the way they played their lanes. Nothing I can really complain about tonight.
And now, Valdez, if the season storyline was written on 3 days play, don't we have a mouth-watering one? Because it's the last bastion of the old names, of the big names, of the mega brands in SK Telecom T1, and all the young guns who can't stop beating all the other names. Everyone else has fallen by the wayside. SK Telecom T1, they've got the legends, they've got the points, and now Dumb1 Gaming, Griffin, Sandbox, all these upcomers who have picked up victories will look at SKT, circle the calendar and say, if we can hold them down, maybe the new blood will reign supreme.
And you mentioned that matchup, SKT and Sandbox is actually SKT's next matchup, will be Sandbox. Sandbox is going to play another team, Kingzone, before they do get to SKT, but we'll see how that matchup does go. Also a very interesting one now after Sandbox's nice performance in the first matchup, but definitely the story and all the eyes now are focused on SKT after a huge dominant victory. We weren't sure exactly what to expect out of Afreeca, but honestly, I don't feel like they played awfully in this series. I just feel like they got outplayed by a better team tonight in SKT.
More data required. We can't do the scientific experimentation on Afreeca again. 2-0'd by Griffin, 2-0'd by SKT. They're probably our 2 front runners for LCK Spring 2019. Again, I'm just kind of in awe of where we're at, of the fact that we have players on SKT, this team that brought together so many franchise players. Jin's best player, he goes on to the side of SKT. Khan was definitely right up there in Kingzone. He's on to SKT. It's all in service of bringing things back, building around Faker, and building this super team. They have that. Meanwhile, every other team that we're mentioning is still trying to build a legacy, still trying to win that first LCK crown. And now they're all looking at SKT and saying, if we knock them off the perch, it will be the new generation. And SKT is saying, you got to earn it first. And with this sort of form, it's going to take a pretty big performance to take them down.
Well, pretty quick series there. I was expecting
surprisingly
3 games. That's what I was thinking, the 2-1 to SKT, but it only took them 2 games, and really quick ones, too. The first one was 28 minutes, the second one being about 25, I think, 24 and a half. Really quick, they shut down that jungle Karthus, Laugh in Spirit space, and, man, really one-sided, not what I was expecting.
Let's see who the MVP is for game number 2. A lot of people could be in the argument for that one. Want to see some more interviews, want to understand what their first thoughts are, because they would have been ready for the Carthus. That's the thing, is they've played so much of it in solo queue that you don't need to scrim Afreeca to know that they will be considering the jungle Carthus. And that's the thing there. I think we'll have some highlights and then crown that MVP. That's what we're all about here as we close up day 3 of the LCK. Looking at the highlights, and they even were able to pick up this Rift Herald. The 1-for-1 kill trade didn't matter. The Rift Herald went the way of SKT, and after this moment, everything came up. SK Telecom T1.
Well, we'll see this one. This was the one where they got hugely baited. The nice roam timing for Faker to come on down. Xin Zhao goes down, but then you give a double kill to the Ezreal, and then you're biting your fingernails. You're really nervous about the way this game is going to go.
It's not a usual meat grinder, but Braum from the backside, Urgot in the front side, nowhere to go, no flashes to evacuate over the wall. And this was the same play, Valdes. It's an extension. What we were watching before, they went for the extended turret dive here, getting further kills. The fissure kill, oh baby, from Mata. That's a feels good, man.
Yeah.
At the end of that fight. And from there, they kept chasing in, and they were getting 4-for-1s, 5-for-0s. It was clean from here for SK Telecom T1.
Yeah, and I was excited to see, some of these other players on the side of Afreeca. Cal, could he show up? Insane mechanics, aiming, lots of good words about him. But SKT didn't even allow us a chance to, see the good parts of Afreeca's lineup in these games. And definitely says a lot about where SKT is as a team right now. You guys can see in the damage, the Galio, the Varus, not really doing much. It was all the Carthus trying to do a bit of damage in this game, but very, very one-sided to the side of SKT. At least this time, Afreeca got 5 kills, not only 1.
Gotta say, the Urgot versus Galio matchup pretty comfortably taken in this game. You can think of another game of Galio's wave clearing and flying off and putting off ganks. That wasn't happening here because of the warding in game 1 especially. Yeah. And game 2 also, it's not a setup jungler, it's a Carthus. He's another orbital nuke rather than someone that's going to be a facilitator for the hero's entrance. So while game 1, Camille Galio, thumbs up on the Galio pick. I think in game number 2, they started with a Galio kind of power level wise and then didn't really craft anything around it. So it ended up being more of a thorn. It didn't really feel like Cal could make any meaningful moments in game number 2. The draft definitely held him down in that regard as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you just send it in the mid lane up against the Urgot, let the Gangplank deal with the Victor. Not 100% sure. Kind of like he was on his own island and the top side is Galio not really doing anything. I mean, he had 1 hero's entrance, I think. Maybe, I don't really even remember.
It wasn't relevant, that's
after
for sure.
That, yeah. So, Galio kind of, sad Galio in that one. Sad Galio bowling, I suppose you could call it.
So you got Teddy for the MVP? I'm a Mata man. I want to see a Mata MVP here.
For the kill?
Let's just double it down. Come on, show us, Riot, what you got for us.
Who's it going to be? I feel like Faker had a pretty decent game,
he did.
too. He showed up this time on the Urgot.
We love to hear from the great man, so I would understand that for an interview. Waiting for Riot to load it up on the screen so we can start the proceedings here. Always fun to hear from SKT and kind of pick their brain about where they're at, because they lost a dumb one. A lot of people fell off the hype train. They said, oh, maybe they're not as good. They had some time. They changed the oil. They're feeling pretty good about where they are now. And we'll get that MVP, and you're the right man. It's going to be Teddy.
I mean, it's kind of interesting the way he picks this up, right? His Ezreal, once again, we know it's fantastic, but it was almost like a couple of kills were gifted to him in his jungle. He just hops over the wall and says, thank you very much in this play, as Afreeca go way too deep for the Xin Zhao, even flashing from aiming, and you can see that huge, gigantic True Shot barrage just sets it up, and Teddy once again is able to pick up an MVP.
And it's just not a comp that does this. It's not a comp that dives in, because then you have GP being blocked off by a Braum. You just don't have any way to dive. That's not a dive comp on the side of Afreeca. It's all about exploiting the Carthus and AoE zone control a Galio and also a Carthus can provide. And the moment they flashed into aggressively there, you could see the mindset had gone. There was just well, let's get a kill. We need a kill. Yeah. We need something. And that's what happens when you're 1-0 down. That's what happens when your first punch was blocked. And the second one came up short as well. So Afreeca Freecs will have to rejudge them. They will play on Sunday their second game. SKT are done for the first week.
Life. actually, for them. So
winnable, but not guaranteed.
could be a surprisingly hard matchup. But either way, I'm going to hand it over to Ji-sun for the translation of the interview.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Ji-sun with today's final interview translation, and we're going to hear from Cleed and Teddy from SK Telecom, picking up 2-2-0 victory against Afreeca Freecs. Same MVP duos on the interview stage. How do you guys feel? Yeah, I think we're in a really good mood. I just want to make sure to keep this mood going on. Same as Cleed. I just want to keep this good mood going on. Let's go, SKT. Elise, that cocoon was amazing. I bet you must be really confident. So how do you rate Elise in current meta? Well, in the current meta, you have to play the champion that you're confident with. And that's why I locked in Elise today. Well, seemed like Afreeca had a bit of a lead in the early game, but your gank was the key in turning the game around. Whose call was that? Faker, but we actually made the calls together and ended up with a good result. And SKT actually opened Aatrox to Keen. So what was going on over there? Well, we were aware that Keen is a really good Aatrox player, but Khan is also strong. We thought it would be okay to let him play Aatrox. Moving on to game 2, Teddy. You are standing next to Cleed once again. How do you feel? It's nice to be next to him. We're the young bloods in SKT. Bam, that Bam again. I like it. So Karthus in jungle. And mid lane swap. What's going on? We were considering after seeing them subbing in Spirit, but top mid lane swap, we were kind of confused. But if we just do our best in doing our own role, that wasn't a big deal. So everyone was performing awesome. But Teddy, you were the most outstanding player. Mara made a comment that you must have a lot of male hormones in your body. Do you agree? No, my male hormones are quite low actually. But your ultimate on Ezreal was amazing. I like punching people in League of Legends. And today was a good day. I was feeling good. All 5 players were doing their role perfectly, but especially Mara was doing his role perfectly, and he even made kills a lot. So how's the synergy going on bot lane? I think things are getting better and better. It's going really well. So is there any room for improvement? I guess. Cleed in game 2. Weren't you really feeling weird seeing Karthus in jungle? As I said before, as we saw Spirit subbing in, we knew there will be a jungle Karthus, so we were able to counterplay against Karthus. So your next matchup will be against Sandbox Gaming, and they did perform well. Are you ready for that? I think we're in a really good performance and form, but we have a long way to go till the end of the split. And Teddy? I won't let my guard down and do my best to prepare for our upcoming matches. So this will be the end of the interview with Cleed and Teddy from SK Telecom, and I will pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji-sun, as always, for the wonderful translation. And it's funny how both of those players are like, yeah, we saw Spirit, and we basically saw the form of Jungle Karthus in front of us. It was very obvious. They knew exactly what to do, I suppose. Easily made quick work of Spirit in the jungle and Afreeca in game 2.
And we just don't know how to evaluate Afreeca after that performance. Again, the same as the Griffin performance, but 18 best of 3s. That'll let us have plenty of information. So that's a later story. The now story is that SKT gets through the first week, a tricky one, 2-0. The Afreeca victory definitely has the legitimacy, even if Jinner are expected to be one of our strugglers, so good to see from that there. We're all excited about the 31st when they play against Griffin. That'll be a really fun one, but still 2 match days this week. You and I will be back tomorrow for some more casting here. I want to see more of Afreeca. W1D3 Gaming should be playing soon. That's going to be a treat to see as well.
Yeah, take a look
We'll throw up the schedule very soon, but you'll also be able to have a look at a hard copy here.
Yeah, it looks like it's W1D3 KT and Griffin Jinner. So.
W1D3 KT is looking like a pretty big trap match for KT. They already lost their first series against Hanwha Life, and W1D3 look even more legit than the Hanwha Life that played in game number 2 and 3. So, again, I feel like Gen G and KT could both be exiting this first week of LCK to 0-2.
So it's a rough way to think about it, but it definitely could happen. Maybe some of these lower level teams that we've been thinking are not as good, especially early on in this, newish meta for 9.1. They're figuring things out and they're just outplaying these other teams. And, well, there's one team up at the top right now who has played 2 games. Of course, we're going to have all the other teams play 2 games, but SKT not even dropping a single map and looking good in every single game they play should make their fans very happy.
SKT 2-0, Gen G 0-2. They are the 2 teams that are done with the competition in week number 1. Everybody else will get another look in. And I, for one, am excited for each and every one of them. There are no hopers. It is the first week of the season. Confirming those games you mentioned yesterday. Does feel a bit like a victory lap for Griffin, though, as Jinner did have the pretty tall task of SKT into Griffin in week number 1. No one is looking at that duo of fixtures and feeling good about it.
Jinner's like, really? These are the 2 teams we have to play first. SKT on opening match, and then Griffin at the end of the week on Saturday. It's just, it's going to be a rough week for Jinner, no doubt. I mean, even if they were a team that we had high expectations for, even if we ranked them number 3, it's hard to say that they would do well in either of those matchups. So kind of a rough one for them. If you're a Jinner fan, wait for week 2. Things should get a little bit easier.
Do you even tweet a sad